Good morning, friends, and welcome to your virtual art class. Today, again, we are going to be collaborating with music, and we are going to be creating something that will help us move to the music that we are listening to in Miss Songbird's class. So, all you need today is a paper plate, and I got these paper plates at Ingles. They're the ones that don't have any coating on them. But really feel free to use whichever paper plate you'd like to use. The only ones that are not good to use are the ones that are like the really hard plastic, because we're going to be cutting into them. Also, the ones that are coated are a little bit difficult in case you want to add color to what we are going to be creating. The other thing you're going to need are scissors and something to color with, some masking tape, and some glue. Those are kind of like the bare minimum things. It's also helpful to have like this is an old skewer. You could also have a pencil, or you could find a stick outside that's about this thin, not too flimsy, that you could use. But anyway, you at least need paper plates, scissors, and glue. All right, before we begin, let's prepare ourselves to be creative by saying our mantra. Here we go. I am an artist. I create with my hands. I create with my heart. I create with my head. I can create anything. All right, cool. Let's get busy. So the first thing you're going to be doing is getting your paper plate, and you can either draw on this, or you can, or you can just cut it like what I've done. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut it right in half. So like I said, you can just draw a line, a nice light line, and not worry about, is it exactly in half? Don't worry, all right? You just don't want it like way over here or way over here. You want to try to get it as close to the middle as you possibly can. Then I'm going to cut it in half. And so I end up with two halves. There you go. And this is a little bit wiggly, the line. I'm not going to worry about it, all right? I'm going to put this off to the side because I'm going to be using that to make my feathers. Because as you know, in music, you are listening to the carnival of the animals, and today the music has to do with the birds. All right. So what I like to do next is just kind of fold this in half. This is going to be my actual mask, and I'm not going to completely crease it. I'm just going to kind of boop, add a little crease that tells me that's where the middle is, all right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a triangle, and that's going to be for my nose. So you don't want to draw a teeny tiny triangle because, well, maybe you have a teeny tiny nose like this, all right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a bigger triangle because I have a bigger nose. All right, so this is going to be the size of my triangle. So I'm just going to cut that out. And I'm just going to save this triangle in case I might need to have it for some feathers. All right. Now I can erase this line or just not worry about it. I'm just going to kind of get rid of it. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is fold it in half again, all right? And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm not going to completely crease it, all right? You see, this is where the edge of my triangle is, and on the back, I'm going to go up, just a little ways in. This is maybe like a half an inch or so. And I'm going to draw a nice arch. And that is going to be for your eyes. The only thing you want to be careful of is that you don't make it too close to your nose, all right? So I'm going to draw this nice arch. And the reason why I'm folding it in half is because I am going to cut it out at this, while it's folded. And that is going to allow me to have two exact eyes. Is that important? Not really, but sometimes it's nice to have. And so there's my eyes. And right now you might want to just test it to see and if you can see through it, if you can look and see through it. I might have to take a little bit more off up at the top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some time and fold it back in half again and just cut a little bit more off the top. Just make a bigger or higher arch, just like that. Now, you might need your grown-up to help you with that, and if you don't, great, and if you do, it's okay. So here I go. I'm pretty good to get started. So this is my basic mask pattern, all right? Now, the reason why I love to use these paper plates is because A, you can make a lot of them. B, you can use the paper plates now to make the other things you need, like feathers and the beak. So let's talk beak for a minute, all right? You might be thinking, oh my gosh, how are we gonna do this? It's gonna be too complicated. Well, I did some thinking to myself, and I kind of found a way that might make it the easiest, all right? So I'm gonna fold my paper plate that I have, the half that I have left over. I'm gonna fold it in half, all right? I'm gonna cut along that line, that imaginary line that I just made. All right, so here's a new piece of pizza or a new piece of cake. And I'm gonna fold that one in half, just like that. So it's pretty close to being half. If it's not perfect, I'm not gonna freak out. And now I have a beak that I can put on here that's going to be big enough. And this is how I do it. I take this, and guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fold it in half. All right. And now I have to cut some tabs in here in order to put it on my mask. And you can kind of see what I did in the back. I taped it from the back. If you don't cut tabs in it, it makes it really difficult to put on. So what I'm going to do is I can take my pencil and I can draw them quick. And what's nice, the paper plates have these like little ridges here. And so I'm just going to follow those. Definitely do 1.5. There's one here and maybe one here. What these tabs also allow it to do is bend easier when you're putting it on your mask. All right. So I'm going to just cut a little bit in. You want to make sure that maybe your tabs are like a 1/2 inch long, all right? And I'm just going to start bending them. I'm going to keep on cutting here. So it's just like that, all right? So here are all of my paper tabs. And you can see now how much easier that's going to be to attach to your mask, all right? Just like that. So you can either tape it on like this, but I didn't want to see all that tape. So what I did is I taped it or glued it from the back. All right, just like that. Now, my beak, whoops, is a little bit longer, like you can see is a little bit longer here on the side. And I'm not going to worry about that, all right? It doesn't sit perfectly like this one. It doesn't sit perfectly flush to the bottom, all right? It kind of sticks down a little bit. And you know what? I'm cool with that. I'm not going to worry about it. Now, if you don't want a beak that's quite as long, all right, what you can do is you can just trim it off a little, all right? So there's a little bit of a shorter beak. And when I do my trimming, I want to do it from the side that is open. I don't want to do it from the top because then you'll end up with a slit in your beak, all right? So you want to just trim it from the bottom. So I could even trim it a little bit more like that, okay? That's only if you don't want it quite as long as I have this one here, all right? This one is a little shorter. So I'm not going to attach that yet because I want to add a bunch of different things, but I'm going to show you how to do it real quick with my masking tape, which has escaped me. I like to tape this on just so I can really secure it. Sometimes when I use a glue stick or my glue-all glue, it just takes a long time for it to dry, all right? So I'm just gonna get a few short pieces of tape here. And if I took off too much, I'm gonna save this to add my stick on. So like I said, I'm going from the back, all right? I like to just put my tape on my tabs and tape that on, okay? And then I like to do the same thing on the other side. And you might be like, Miss Krista, the tape is sticking over the eyeball. Well, that is easy enough to fix. All I have to do is trim that off, okay? And there I go. There's my beak, all right? And I'm ready to go. Now I can start decorating. So there's a lot of choices and a lot of variety here that you can make, all right, that you can do. If you want to just leave your bird completely white, that is a-okay. You can cut feathers out of the other half a mask that you have made and out of another plate, all right? So these are some feathers that I made that are just white, and they are ready to be glued on. I'm going to start gluing on from the back, all right, like this, so that when it comes time, I can overlap. And maybe when I get in closer to my eyes, I might make my feathers really small, all right? So in order to make feathers, what I did is I took the other part of my mask, or my paper plate, sorry. And what I did, because I like to save a little time, because it seems like, oh, I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting, all right? I like to fold it in half so I can make at least 2 feathers at once. And so I'm just going to draw on here, you know, like a long almond shape, all right? Just a bunch of them on here so that I have some feathers I can cut out. Now, I'm not going to worry about this ruffly part up here. That'll add some nice texture to my feathers. So I'm just going to cut these out, and then add them to my mask. Now, you may have noticed on some of these that I have cut some slits, all right? And what that does is it allows me to add another element of texture to my mask. So what I could do is just put these in half, not in half, but stack them on top of each other and just cut along. And then make a little bit of a feather texture. just like that. And then I could kind of, they don't want to come apart. Then I could kind of bend them a little and kind of ruffle the feathers, and then I could start sticking it on. I could start sticking it on my mask. Now, do you have to cover the whole thing with feathers? No. Do I recommend it? Kind of, because I think it'll be really cool. Do I recommend having different sizes of feathers? Totally, because the feathers in the back might be a little bit bigger. Like I said, when they get to the front, they might be a little bit smaller. You can create some very cool patterns with that, and it adds some nice variety. Now, let's say you would like to have some feathers that are colored. Well, it's the same thing, but before I cut any of my feathers out, what I did is I took my Crayola markers, the washable ones, and I just colored a plate. And then I went over it with some water, either with a paintbrush or with a Q-tip. And I really piled the color on here because I wanted my mask to be super colorful. So that's what I did. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use a huge amount of water, all right? I just washed my brush out to kind of to clean it so I can move on and make a new color. And I just decided to kind of color my plate with a color family that would work together if I blended the colors together. So for example, I put yellow in between this greenish blue and this red color because I know that yellow is used to make those two colors. So I know that it will work well together, all right? And so I'm just going to keep going around, and then I need to let this dry before I can cut out my feathers. And so it's the same way. You do the same thing as I showed you with the white ones, all right, is that you might want to you might want to cut this up a little so it'll be easier to manage, and so that you could fold it parts in half to cut out more feathers. But you just cut it and then cut it in sections. I'll do this even though it's still wet. Here we go. So I can take this, I can fold it, and when it's dry, you won't have to worry about mixing colors. I can draw my feather shapes on here again, all right? I want to try not to draw directly right in the middle because then I will have wasted a whole bunch of that precious paper that I have colored, all right? And I can make big feathers and I can make tiny feathers, and then I'll start cutting them out, just like with the white ones. You could do a mix of colored ones and white ones. It's all up to you, right? So that is how, they don't want to come apart. That is how that works, just like that. And here's my beautiful colored feathers. Right, so once this is all decorated, all right, you can imagine putting all your feathers and stuff on here, then it's time to put on the dowel or the stick or the pencil, depending on what you have. We use that so we can hold it while we dance to the music in Miss Songbird's lesson. So what I do from the back, just like I did with the beak, I take some longish pieces of tape and I just tape this on here. I've taken about 2 inches and I've added it on to the mask. You don't want to just put a short little part and try to tape that on. You want a nice part that you can attach. And now I have my bird mask that is ready to go. And now I can dance to the music in Miss Songbird's lesson. Here we go. So lately, friends, we have not been doing any kind of mindfulness activity. So what we're going to do is end our lesson with a mindfulness activity. I want you to find a spot, if you're at your desk or if you're at home, just find a spot where you feel relaxed and fold your hands in your lap. And what we're going to be doing is some belly breathing. So you can now place your hands on your belly. And what you're going to do is take a long, deep breath in and breathe it out. Sometimes when we're stressed, we take really short breaths and it kind of wears us out a little bit. So if you ever are feeling stressed, you can think about belly breathing. So again, deep breath in, let it out. Feel how your shoulders relax and your body starts to relax. One more time, deep breath in. Feel your belly going in and exhale. Feeling your belly expand. Do that a few more times. And you should be ready to continue with your day. Friends, I hope you have an excellent day. I hope you have so much fun creating your bird mass. Send me a video if you use it to move to Miss Songbird's music class. Have a wonderful day. Take care and be well. Bye.